meeting. Maybe we should do a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then we have to do, we have to do roll call
Yes.
over the meeting.
Julie, would you be willing to take the roll?
I would be willing to do that. Andy Duran, absent. Ann Hill.
Present.
Mark Barry, absent. Leanne Charlo.
Present.
Julie Godshall, present. Richard Hegg, absent. John Morozen.
Present.
Okay.
At the beginning of the meeting, we always offer an opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone here who would like to make a public comment tonight? If not, we'll go ahead and continue. If you're looking at the agenda, we're going to move things around a little bit. We are going to move item 8.
I believe.
Thank
Yes.
you, up to the beginning, so that Mr. Jaxie can get home.
And I will take it from there.
Okay, good.
Item 8I is the Lake Bluff Middle School Assistant Principal Contract Approval for this evening. As you know, with Kelly Bay moving to the elementary school, that opened up her position at the district office. In discussions with Dr. Lieli, who will be the superintendent next year, she wanted to make that a full-time assistant principal position at the middle school. And so with that being said, she and I kind of designed the process. She really wanted Nate to run it in his building, so Nate had a team of teachers do screener interviews. From that, they brought it down to 2 or 3 candidates, and those 2 or 3 candidates were interviewed by Nate and Dr. Lieli, and I'm happy to announce that Joe Jaxie will be named our new assistant principal of the middle school tonight. So I'm going to have Nate come up real quick and give a brief history of Mr. Jaxie, and then I'm going to ask the board for approval of his contract, and we'll have Joe come up and introduce his wife.
Thank you. So I'm speaking on behalf of the entire building when I say that we're very excited. Certainly, meeting Joe for the first time and going back to 2011, when we had a long-term science position to fill, a maternity leave position. Had an interview committee for that position as well. Being a former Michigander, when I saw Joe's application as a recent graduate of U of M, I was excited to bring him in to interview with our committee. I think we interviewed 7 or 8 people that day, and Joe was clearly the favorite of that entire interview committee. So when I followed up with Joe, he was on his way back to Ann Arbor to graduate in the ceremony the following day, and then was back on the weekend after accepting the job and had found an apartment within 3 days of interviewing, and I knew we'd gotten the right guy. He was already in the classroom shortly after that. So he did a fantastic job, and then at the end of that long-term position, our science teacher returned, and Joe went on to teach in Kenilworth. We were fortunate to have a position open up just a year later. In math, Joe was interested, and we were thrilled to be able to bring Joe back to District 65. So Joe's been teaching math with us for the past 7 years. Okay, thank you. See, he's a good math guy. He can right off the top of his head. He's done 7th and 8th grade math, and certainly knows that curriculum inside and out, but has assumed a lot of great leadership roles within the building, served as our team facilitator, and jumped into just a wide variety of committee work and helping us to make some decisions within the building. Definitely having gone through the screening interviews, once again, Joe was the candidate out in front of everyone else, and having the opportunity to interview with Dr. Lieli really was a great opportunity for me as well, to meet Joe, to meet one of our other candidates, and with her approval, I'm really pleased to introduce Joe tonight and allow you, the board, to take action, hopefully. So Joe, come on down.
All right, Joe, I'm going to have you come up. Don't say anything yet. The board has to approve first, so.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the Lake Bluff Middle School Assistant Principal Contract for Joe Jaxie effective July 1st, 2020, as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
John Morozen.
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte.
Yes.
Julie Godshall, yes. Andy Duran.
Yes.
Ann Hill.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Want to say a couple?
Sure. Thank you, everyone. This is just an exciting time for us and for our family. If my wife hasn't, if I haven't been able to introduce her to you yet, she's with us tonight. She is my biggest supporter and my biggest fan and my best friend, and I'm so glad that she's here with us. We have 2 young kids. I love talking about them. They're Luke and Abby. They're 3.5 and 1.5, and we're excited for this next step in our journey. And you know, when we talk about Lake Bluff with our friends and my other colleagues in other districts, I can't help but share so much good stuff that our district does. And it's exciting to be a part of this community. It's exciting to work with our students. And I'm looking forward to joining such a great team as we head into the next chapter of the District 65 story. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you. And I wish you all a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And
Welcome.
thanks, Sydney. Sydney, just so you know, worked with Joe on the, now I'm having a mind blank.
Odyssey of the Mind.
Odyssey of the Mind. So she helped bring kids on the travels and did the competition. So we thank you for the service to to our district as well. So thank you. Congrats.
Thank you.
He's going to shake all your hands. Thanks, Joe. And Joe, you can go home now. You've got little ones, so
We gotta do some bedtime routines. So.
that's right. Take care. Thanks for coming. So now you got to ask about the discussion items, if anybody has any of them.
Does anyone on the board have any discussion items that they would like to add to a future agenda? Okay. If not, we'll move on to reports. Our first report would be from the PTO.
I am not Ann Hill.
I defer to Carrie Steinberg.
I'm sorry about that. I just got that
Oh,
now.
that's really funny. I saw it earlier and thought maybe I didn't have to come. Just kidding.
But we're
I love
glad to
being
see you,
here.
so.
Yeah. I just wanted to catch everybody up on what we've been doing in the PTO for the year since I haven't been here for a while. We had our Pumpkin Fest, which raised about $10,000. We have box tops that we are welcoming from anybody in any school. We have a $1,000 goal and we're at about $750. We did a wrapping paper fundraiser for $1,000, and then we do our monthly Bluffer Nights, which is dinner at a local restaurant, and they give back to the community about 20% of the sales if you say that you're with the PTO, and I think we're almost to our $500 goal. Speaking of, we have one in March on the 19th at Homemade Pizza, which was formerly Bake 425. So just say PTO, and you don't get a discount, but it comes to us. And then there's one at Chipotle, April 22nd. We are working really hard on our spring social, which is also formerly known as our spring fundraiser. We are raising money for the middle school scoreboard. Hopefully we can get that done for next year. The date for our social will be May 16th, and we're holding it at the Winter Club in Lake Forest. Other things that we're working on, like things that we need, we're working on teacher books for the classrooms for first, second, and third grade. They said that they have a need, so we're trying to figure out a program where we can raise some money for them to get all the books. We are still looking for more lunch and recycle program volunteers in both of our schools, and of course sponsors for our social, if anybody wants to pass it along. There is a Spiritware sale that's going till Friday. If you guys ever want any of the gear, you can look online on our website, and that should be up there. And the last thing is we are doing our curricular enhancement for all of our grades, and we recently had that school-wide internet safety speaker, which was a pretty good turnout for our speakers, and we're hoping to do it again next year. And that is all.
Thank you.
Actually, Carrie, before you leave, I just confirmed it today. Lisa Dr. Lealy will be coming to the May 20th PTO meeting, district PTO.
Oh,
So you guys can plan ahead if you wanted to do like a little reception or something.
okay, that makes sense.
So she'll be there
So
May
it's like-
20th.
Okay. We'll be sure to keep that meeting. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we'll have a report from our Director of Finance and Operations, Mr. Jay Kahn.
I just wanted to report that with our new board policy on facility use, we will be approving the use of our parking lot this summer for Banner Day Camp to park a bus on our lot. They've been doing it for over the past 20 years. We've allowed them to park. They provide insurance and a waiver. They said they have approximately 15 to 20 campers from Lake Bluff, and parking the bus in our lot makes it more convenient, reduces drive times for our residents. And I just wanted to get the board, let the board know that we're going to be approving that again this year.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Jay.
Next up, a report from our superintendent, Dr. Sophie.
Well, I would like to report that the possible snow day, which I've been telling everybody not to use, is blowing over. I think we're going to get a few inches tonight, but nothing like, I love the Facebook shot of the whole area, and it said 0 to 100 inches possible, because that's pretty much how we feel. Moving to today now, apparently the CDC has designated the coronavirus a pandemic, so there's going to be some communication coming out on that. Kevin's actually working on that now, and we'll stay in contact. We follow our guidance from the Lake County Department of Health and from the Illinois Department of Health and the CDC. So we get lots of communication, and we'll be sharing that as we go. Finally, this Thursday will be the final interviews for the Director of Student Services for next year. Dr. Lealy and I have met. We posted it based upon a job description she decided on. We went through candidates together. She picked candidates that she wanted me to screen for her. So I've done screener interviews. We narrowed those down to 3 candidates, and so there'll be 3 candidates meeting with a group of parents, a group of staff, and then what I call the admin group, which will consist of Dr. Lealy, Jay, Nancy Goldberg, who is the administrative assistant, Andy, and Kurt Schneider will be coming from NSSED. So the interviews are all set up. She asked us to do logistics based upon her feedback, and I think we've got 3 outstanding candidates for that position. So that's my report.
Next, we have a presentation regarding
Yes.
student achievement actions and fall data.
So Dr. Rubenstein and team. This is the
been a
report
long
we've
time
been
coming.
promising for
Yeah,
like 5
seriously.
months. We keep moving it.
Yeah,
And
we're
it
not going to move it
basic-
anymore.
We're not moving it, we're actually doing it
Exactly.
tonight, so.
Yep. So we have been talking about this for a long time, and really we've done far more than 5 things that we've this year with our student growth data and the data that we receive every year from our MAP scores and the Illinois Assessment of Readiness and what that looks like. And so we wanted to tell you about some of those. So I'm going to talk about the first thing, which is support for our English learning students. So as a group, as this group has expanded, we've also expanded our support during this school year. And really, what we've done is that we've reached out to other school districts across the area and to the state and to what's known as the WIDA Consortium, which is a nationwide consortium of schools and districts that have lots of students with English learning needs. They have lots of workshop opportunities, and so we've held some of those both within our district and then sent some of our general education teachers, our English learning lead teachers, and then some of our special education teachers to conferences and workshops in other districts in the area. We've also done, whenever we have like our ELA teacher coaches in for professional development or our math coaches in for professional development like Janice Heigl or somebody from Teachers College, that sort of thing. That's also a focus of the work that we do. And so we talk all about how we are working with students with English learning backgrounds and what strategies we should be using with students with EL needs in our classrooms and what that should look like. So really what this is looking like in the classroom much more is a significant focus on reading decoding at the early grades, and so you'll hear a little bit more about that from Kelly in just a second. But then also a significant focus on vocabulary in the content areas all across the board. So vocabulary and content area vocabulary are some of the last things that develop for English learning students. As we work with these students to develop their vocabulary skills across the board, they're more likely to succeed and do well in our classrooms.
And again, this was based upon student data that we had showing that our English learner language population, really, we needed to provide more supports and make some bigger growth in that area.
Hi, everybody. In English Language Arts, we have been working very hard. One of the biggest initiatives is this year our kindergarten and first grade students and teachers are working on implementing phonics units of study from the Teacher College units of study that we have for reading and writing. So that has had a tremendous impact on students. Prior to this, our phonics was a little bit more informal, and we felt like really teaching kids specific phonics skills would help all students, but specifically students who are struggling readers. So the teachers have been really pleased with the work. It is very much aligned with the reading and writing units as well, so it makes a lot of sense for the students. So we're really excited to see in the next couple of years, once students have kindergarten and then first moving up, the gains that we're going to see there. We have continued the coaching with the Teacher College. They're from Columbia University. Their professional developers come on out to our school twice a year. The work recently in grades 3 through 5 and probably middle school was centered around kind of test prep, in that it really worked with teachers to develop materials to kind of refine and review skills that would help them in the IAR testing process. So nothing specific about the IAR test, like questions or anything like that, but just how to read a passage and then write a paper about it, and really working with teachers to develop those materials for students. Last year we saw that had a big impact for 4th and 5th grade as far as their test scores were concerned, and so we brought in 3rd grade to that process this year as well. We have a significant focus of our grants and purchasing for Alliance and Title programs, so that includes appropriate reading materials and other things that support our ELA work. And then our continued work with reading recovery in the early grades connects a little bit also to that EL slide that Kevin discussed, because one of our EL teachers is also a reading recovery teacher, and so that requires a lot of training in order to have the skills to be a reading recovery teacher, and so that work can really be transferred in with all of her work with EL students. Any questions?
Hello, I'm going to speak to the ongoing work related to math. And so it's really refining the work. Part of this looks like work with our consultation with experts in the field. So Kevin mentioned Janice Heigl, who's been a longtime consultant of ours. And so we continue to lean on her for support, advice, any of the sort of latest developments that she's experiencing with other schools and districts that she's working with throughout the country. And really, she does some international work as well. The reviewing and updating also includes professional development and coaching for teachers. We've really tried to shift a focus and be conscious of new teachers in the building, so any new hired teachers, but also teachers who have adjusted grade level. So when the content is new or the standards are new, and some of that might come through lead teachers within the building, math specialists in the area of enrichment. We are also providing math exemplars that are aligned to IAR. So Margaret shared test prep in the area of English language arts. We're really conscious to help students understand what is this going to look like when I need to respond to it on an assessment, and how can I practice that work. And it's aligned to the day-to-day instruction, but sometimes navigation of that, it's a really important skill that we can support them, prepare them in real time. And the other professional development that we've had is aligned to the implementation of the math program that we're currently using at the middle school. So this past summer, their trainer came out for the final phase of training, and did some continued work to support teachers with instructional strategies. So that sums up the refined work that we're doing in math.
We've got that. And then review of our programs of support. So while we have consistently been reviewing our MTSS, or multi-tiered systems of support, and we did a heavy review of that 2 years ago, we needed to focus our work this year to ensure that, first of all, there has been some skepticism, I will say, about our progress monitoring tools, and so we wanted to make sure that those were adequate and really appropriate for all students at all grade levels, and so that is currently ongoing. And really, so the skepticism comes from a variety of places, but a lot of them come from the fact that other districts in other areas have adopted additional or different progress monitoring tools and gone to different things over the years. And so we've stayed tried and true to one that has consistently been the highest rated progress monitoring tool on the market. But there's still some skepticism about that. So Kelly and I have said to the team, great, let's go out and review them. And so we're going out to review them. We also wanted to make sure that we have robust intervention programs that meet the needs of students currently in our district. So as we were talking about the EL students, and we've talked before about the shifting demographic in our district, that the intervention programs that we currently use with our students are actually robust enough that we have enough of them there to be able to meet the needs of everybody, so that we have 3 or 4 decoding programs, that we have 3 or 4 math fact fluency programs that are available, so that if one doesn't fit for Leanne when she experiences trouble, that there are 2 others that we can draw from, that sort of thing. So we want to have a robust series of intervention programs there. And then we also want to make sure, every year and from month to month, there is a lot of evidence that comes out about what actually works with students, and it is constantly changing, and we all get that evidence, and so we wanted to make sure that our current intervention programs are based on current evidence of what works for students. When Kelly and I first started in this review of the programs, not just 2 years ago, but 7 years ago when I first started in the district, that had not been done for a long time. It was actually something that people sort of said, oh, we reviewed that 10 years ago when this first started and it didn't work for us then. Why would we start to use it now? And there was actually a lot of research that had been done over that last 10 years that would make those effective programs now. And so we want to make sure that we're keeping up on that. And it is a really, really big job and a really big task. So that's part of our review of programs of support, and to make sure that we're constantly staying on the cutting edge.
And finally, we took some time to focus on attendance, tardiness. The research is clear here. One of the biggest contributing factors to student success in school is being in school. So some of those steps that have been taken, that includes partnering with families who have students who are at a low rate of attendance, making sure that we're clear with them about how much school the student has been missing. We have predetermined benchmarks so that when students are hitting those benchmarks, we're communicating with families, sending letters, and making phone calls and offering up support to help get kids in school. And also continuing to work with our Safe and Civil Schools cohort and the regional office of Lake County. There is an opportunity to refer families to the regional office if some of those interventions that are being put into place are not proving to be successful for our students. So we're pleased to say that we've had positive results from those efforts in increasing student attendance.
Good news.
So that is all that we have for you this evening, unless somebody has questions.
I have one
Yes.
question. You're going to be implementing this assorted number of changes here, and you measured progress using certain key indicators in prior years. You're going to use different indicators in future years, or is it going to be the same indicators?
They'll be the same indicator. So first of all, we measure based on what's in the strategic plan. So you have the strategic plan indicators. So that's the first thing. The internal measures are based on the MAP scores, and then the external measures are based on the Illinois Assessment of Readiness indicators. So the only way that that would change would be if the state changed that assessment. This year, they're not changing that assessment, and so.
So how long do you think it will take before you see any changes one way or the other with regard to the implementation of these programs?
So, so when we are working on targeted areas like this, you're not going to see, what you're not going to see is whole-scale increases in the large group. What we're working on is targeted increases in our groups. So in our students with disabilities, in our students with English learning needs, and that sort of thing. Because when we really examined the data and when we really took a look at things as a whole, the student groups that were not performing where we needed them to were those specific groups. And so we've specifically targeted those groups in each of our areas for change. So you won't see, our scores going up by, 10 points in 1 year. What you will see or may see over the course of 1 year is the students with disabilities population performing far better or growing much more than they have in the past, as an example.
I also want to point out on the attendance, because we've noticed it, we may have a grade level that goes down, and we look at why did this grade level went down. Sometimes it may be because we've got a couple students that are hardly ever here. So if they're not here with attendance, they're not getting the learning, but yet they still have to take the state test. So the same applies when we have sometimes teachers that go out on leaves. We have to look and say, oh yes, that teacher might have been out for 12 weeks plus. Does that fit into everything? So we don't try to make excuses, but we really try to dig down into the data, and we believe very strongly that working on these targeted areas is going to help all kids. So,
Correct.
Thanks for putting this together, you guys. And now it's not on the to-do list for next month. So.
Correct, yeah. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
At this time, we'll move to our action items.
All right, you want me to we'll get started. As you know, items A through J, we've all talked about, but we always give brief summaries before we vote on them. So we're going to start with licensed staffing plan. So I think if you have to put the motion out and then we talk about it, or do we discuss first? What do you like to do?
If you guys have
Discuss it
anything
first?
of summary, and then, yeah.
Which one of you guys wants to do license overall?
So you have in front of you this evening the licensed staffing plan for the 2021 school year. We talked with you about that at the committee of the whole meeting 2 weeks ago. The basic changes for this coming school year are that at Lake Bluff Elementary School, we're planning on decreasing by 0.5 to account for the fact that we're going to section in the pre-kindergarten, and then we're adding 0.2 in our EL programming overall at the district. That'll be reflected mainly at Lake Bluff Middle School. And then our technology curriculum specialist, who's currently Lori Brown, is retiring at the end of the school year, and we are planning on outsourcing that to Single Path. So that would be an overall decrease in the licensed FTE of 1.3. You'll see on the bottom of that that there are several purchase services that are going to be approved with the regular budget that'll be just budgeted for in the next school year.
As we discussed at the last meeting.
Yeah, so it's material we've discussed in the past. Are there any further comments or questions before we, no? Ron? All right, may I have a motion to approve the 2021 licensed staffing plan as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Julie, can we have a roll call vote, please?
John Morozin?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Julie Godchill, yes. Andy Duran?
Yes.
Ann Hill?
Yes.
Okay. Non-licensed staffing?
In terms of non-licensed staffing, again, really, actually, the only change here is to update it to reflect what we were already doing this year. We had a staff member who retired mid-year last year, and we actually didn't reflect it in the technology support. And so while we are technically going down by one for this next year, it really isn't a change. And then just showing you what we are additionally purchasing that'll be included in the budget for this next school.
With a reminder that the teaching assistant line could change any day. Could go down or it could go up. That just goes with IEPs.
I do have one question about this one. The last meeting, we talked about purchasing services from NSSCD. Is that on a different spot? Or
Yeah,
is
that
this-
was the last,
That was on the light,
yeah.
okay. I'll go back and review that then, thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, could I have a motion to approve the 2020 and 2021 non-licensed staffing plan as presented by administration?
So moved?
Second.
Julie, roll call vote?
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Julie Godchill, yes. Andy Duran?
Yes.
Ann Hill?
Yes.
John Morozin?
Yes.
And the motion passes.
motion passed. So now we're moving into 2021 school calendar, which everybody is awaiting with bated breath. We've got, and actually I got confirmation that Lake Forest High School is following pretty much our calendar that we followed from them. Just to remind everybody, our sole thing that we try to do is align with Lake Forest High School to the best of our ability. Lake Forest High School teachers had a new contract this year, and so they actually had to go back to a new calendar committee, so we had to wait. That's why I felt like I was running a couple weeks late, but we're approving generally on time. Pointing out that the 18th and 19th of August are going to be Institute Days. The kids come back on the 20th of August. I want to highlight in October, parent-teacher conferences are going to look different. We needed more late afternoon, night slots, so parent-teacher conferences will be the 28th and 29th in the afternoons and evenings. The 30th, school will be closed. Everybody see that on October? November's normal. December, our break is our normal 2 weeks. We come back on January 4th as a teacher institute. The kids come back on the 5th. February, our parent-teacher conferences for winter are there. March, that March 19th date, that was in question with Lake Forest High School, they are also taking that day off. So our spring break will totally align with them. If there are no snow days next year, school will end on June 2nd, and then our 5 emergency days are after that.
Any questions or comments? If not, may I have a motion to approve the 2020-2021 district calendar as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Voice,
You could
voice
do a
vote?
voice vote on that
Yep.
one, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries.
The draft framework for 21-22 is in your packets. We basically just take the 2021 calendar and put it on the 21-22. It follows what we get from Lake Forest, but I also need to let everybody know this could totally change by the time you see it next year. But we're required to put a framework together, so that's what I'm bringing for your approval this evening.
Questions or discussion? If not, may I have a motion to approve the 2021-2022 district calendar draft framework as presented by administration?
So
All those in
moved.
favor?
Aye.
You need to move it first.
So moved.
So moved.
Gosh,
Second.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we move on to the RJB custodial contract
Well,
renewal.
we've got board meeting calendar, E.
Oh, I'm getting too many calendars. Getting them
This
mixed
is
up.
an important one because it's all your board meetings. I actually asked Shelley to send you all invites up through the end of April because there will be board changes after the April 27th meeting next year because of board elections next year. So the calendar in front of you aligns with when we can meet here in Village Hall and with the two conferences that Dr. Liali would be going to. I want to remind everybody that your July meeting is set for 7 a.m. and that's strictly a bills and/or personnel if needed.
Okay. Questions or discussion? We have a motion to approve the 2020-2021 board meeting calendars presented by administration.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now we move to the RJB custodial contract renewal.
Okay, RJB won our custodial contract bid last year, and we're currently in our first year with them. We've been very pleased with their performance. Our contract includes a option to renew at the board's discretion for basically for a CPI increase not to exceed 3%. So we'd like to renew their contract for a total increase of 2.3%. The net value would be $282,200 for next year.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion or questions on that item? If not, may I have a motion to approve the RJB custodial contract renewal as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second?
And roll call vote.
Ann Hill,
Yes.
John Rosen.
Yes.
Leanne Charlo,
Yes,
Julie Gotchall, yes. Andy Duran.
Yes.
the motion carries, and we move on to debt collection agency, item G.
So, many school districts use a debt collection agency to collect on unpaid debt. We have a small but increasing level of debt, and it was the recommendation of the administration to just have an agreement with the debt collection agency should we need to collect on any accounts. We are recommending that we go with Vander Financial. Our attorney has approved the agreement that we have in front of you. They work solely on commission, so they would only receive payment if we had debts to collect and we sent them out and they were successful in collecting.
Okay, thanks.
So what kind of debt is this typically?
Typically, school fees, it's not a lot. And we work with families well in advance, so this is really a last resort. There's options for payment plans and fee waivers, so this is really after people have exhausted, or we've exhausted all of the steps in trying to make it.
I think at the last meeting you said the level of that debt as it currently stands.
About $24,000 if you add all together. At this point.
24 is 24,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, any other discussion or questions? If not, may I have a motion to approve hiring a debt collection agency as presented by the administration?
So moved.
Second.
I think we can do a voice vote on this, because we're not paying them, correct?
Well, we may be paying them. I think I'd
Oh,
feel
if it
more
would be a
comfortable with a
commission.
debt.
Okay, fine, let's
with
do a roll
yeah.
call vote, please.
Morosen.
Yes.
John Morosen.
I didn't
I'm
get
trying to
get a little husky
conserve my
down there.
voice by just.
I don't know, was he falling asleep or?
Charlo,
Yes.
Godshall. Yes. I need to go home and go to bed. All right.
Long day,
So we
huh?
get Duran and Hill?
Yes.
Everyone's a yes. Good job. All right.
I think that That motion carries.
Yes.
And from there, we'll move on to Olson Transportation Contract Renewal, item H.
Administration recommends that we renew our transportation contract with Olson for buses at a rate increase of 6% over the prior year. Given the large increases in salary and benefits that bus companies need to provide in order to fill vacant spaces and slots, we think that 6% is a reasonable increase. The bidding environment is not very good, and we are able to save money by sharing buses with Lake Forest. It's also a competitively priced rate, and so we believe that staying with Olson is in the school's best interest. We've also had very good service this year.
Okay, any questions? If not, may I have a motion to approve the Olson Transportation Contract Renewal as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Did you second? I wasn't sure.
And I apologize. We have a roll call vote,
Yeah, right.
please.
Charlo?
Yes.
Godshall, yes. Duran?
Yes.
Hill?
Yes.
Morozen?
Yes.
All right.
And this, you have to read the whole thing.
Okay. Same as what I have here, right?
And actually, we can talk about it. The next approval that we're asking you for is the resolution for permission to refinance our bonds. Jay and I had our call. We moved to Standard & Poor's from, what were we before? Moody's. It was actually a very impressive call. Jay did an outstanding job answering all the financial questions, and we will be finding out about our actual rating beginning of March, right? I was very clear that we were asking for the highest AAA, and we'll just see what happens with it. But we will be selling or refinancing our bonds in March, and so the resolution that Leanne is going to read, she needs to read it in full, and then you need to take approval, and it's just Leanne and Julie that will be signing off on that then, right? Okay.
Here we go. May I have a motion to approve the resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed $2 million general obligation refunding school bonds, Series 2020, for the purpose of refunding certain outstanding bonds of the district, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with said refunding, providing for the levy of a direct annual tax to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Julie Godshall, yes. Andy Duran?
Yes.
Ann Hill?
Yes.
John Morozen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes. That motion carries. And from there, we go to item K, personnel report. I need to read all
You
the.
can read right off mine.
Okay. Oh, because I printed that one. Non-licensed new hire, Carrie Spizzano, hired to the position of library media aide, replacing Brooke Rolick in the LBMS building, effective February 24th, 2020. Non-licensed resignations, we have Brooke Rolick, library media aide, for personal reasons, from the LBMS building, effective 2/21/20, and Nicole Bielik, teaching assistant, leaving to another job opportunity from LBES on March 6th, 2020. If there are any questions or comments about that? If not, may I have a motion to approve the personnel report for February 25th, 2020 as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
John Morozen?
Yes.
Leanne Charlo?
Yes.
Julie Godshall, yes. Andy Duran?
Yes.
Ann Hill?
Yes.
That carries. Thank you. The remaining item is the consent agenda, and I believe I need to read off the items that are part of the consent agenda. That includes the treasurer's report, the impressed report, the bills report, the P-card report, open session meeting minutes for January 28th, 2020, regular Board of Education meeting, February 11th, 2020, Committee of the Whole meeting, closed session meeting minutes for January 28th, 2020, regular Board of Education meeting, and February 11th, 2020, Committee of the Whole meeting. Would anyone like any of those items pulled for separate consideration outside of the consent agenda? If not, May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for February 25th, 2020 as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Andy Duran,
Yes.
Ann Hill,
Yes.
Leanne Charlotte,
Yes.
Julie Godchill, yes, John Rosen.
Yes.
The motion carries. The next item is number 9, FOIA requests. We've received 3 of those. Those are available in Board Book. At this time, I also welcome any public comment from anyone who's here. I know Mark would like me to encourage everyone who is out in TV land watching to consider running for a spot on the Board of Education. That'll be coming available next year. And so I'm going to encourage that also on his behalf. If there are no public comments, we will move to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn.
So
Moved.
moved.
Second.
All right, we're adjourned.
Good job.
Great job.